ask you, Perry made a big deal in the spring with the Tea Parties of, I'm rejecting this stimulus money, particularly the money for
unemployment.
Unemployment fund. But at the same time, the more than $12 billion in stimulus money was used to balance the state's budget.
That's right.
Do you think at the time when I went out and interviewed people with the Tea Parties, I would ask them that, and they didn't seem to believe me when I'd say, well, what do you think of the governor doing this? Do you think, is that sinking in on people, and does it matter to them?
It's certainly something I'm talking about a lot. I think that the governor is in many ways the CEO of a corporation called the state of Texas, and as shareholders, in order for us to make the best decisions about the direction of this enterprise, we have to have an accurate picture of what's going on in Texas. And what we're hearing out of Austin from Republican leadership is we're much better off than other states. True, but we've got a debt that's tripled. We're right up against our constitutional debt limit. We've got a big liability coming because of the property tax buy down. And we used a sizable chunk of federal money to balance this biennial's budget. So none of that's insurmountable, but people can't make the right decisions. They can't cast the most informed decision on these bond votes that are going to be coming up in November if we don't have an accurate picture of where we are. I understand the legislature writes the budget. I understand the governor has the power of the veto pen, but he also has a duty to provide accurate information to the citizens of the state of Texas. And that rests with the executive branch, the governor and the comptroller, to quit painting this, take off the rose-colored glasses and tell us accurately where we are in Texas. Frustrating that in April he talks secession and he boasts about the $500 million drop in the bucket to the $12 billion we took. But where have we been on interposition or nullification of anything else that's happened in the last 8 or 9 years where the federal government has overreached and overreached? The No Child Left Behind stuff has been horrible on our education system. We haven't rejected any of that. There's just been a flood of federal intervention in Texas, and we haven't raised, kind of a hand to even say time out. And yet he's talking secession. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. What do you, since you mentioned that, and what do you think about the states' rights issue, and B, the secession issue?
I'm going to talk about that a bunch today. I'm speaking at the rally here. The provisions that we ought to be exercising as a state include nullification and interposition, actually having the state legislature nullify federal law that overreaches, or interposing force, resisting the enforcement of that sort of legislation. Those two things available to the legislature primarily. The governor, obviously the executive branch, has the Attorney General's office and the Comptroller's office, both of which can be used, one on the funding side, the other to fight these issues in the federal courts. I think we have to start championing those things and working really hard, using them really aggressively to check the federal government. Where I think the biggest challenge to Texas is to figure out where. Is that a push on immigration enforcement? Is it a push on education? Is it a push on health care? Is it a push on energy interference in our energy industry? And the way we answer that question today might be very different from how we'll answer it in January of 2011 because the political landscape is changing so quickly. We're going to look for opportunities to work with the legislature and with the AG's office to strategically decide which one of those battles is the one that you're most likely to see other dominoes fall. If we fight, is it the education fight? Will we also win an energy battle? That's going to take some legal expertise at the table, and we're looking at those.
Okay. What about the secession issue that got so hot with the governor's comments?
I think that being a nurse, I've analogized that to killing the patient when we've got a disease that we could eradicate. Can we try to eradicate the disease first? Can we try to cure the illness before we just euthanize the patient, which is, I think, essentially, how I see secession we'll just kill the union. And we haven't even tried to treat the problem.
Mm-hmm.
We've got treatments available to us. We haven't even bothered to try them. Not try them. We haven't even bothered to use them.
Well, anything I haven't thought of that perhaps you want to...
We got to talk about the economy.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned no surrender, no compromise on private property and gun ownership. I think there have been conservatives for a number of years talking about how onerous the property tax is. We're pushing for elimination of property tax in Texas. Complete elimination of property tax in Texas. On the philosophical idea that if you don't own your property, you are not truly free. We have to protect freedom, so you have to own your property. You have to have gun ownership.
Talk a little bit about the campaign, what y'all done, how you're going to overcome having the Kay and Rick having the money and the...
We've got a tremendous grassroots network across Texas. It's in place. It's ready to go. That grassroots network put Medina for Texas teams on the ground at 45 tea parties in April, from El Paso to Beaumont, from Harlingen to DFW. What we didn't have was that kind of campaign organization, the center hub of that, a number of people ready to serve. We were looking for kind of a few key individuals, and I think in the last week or two we found that. Penny has come on as our campaign manager. She's got 10 years of experience working with Ron as his political director, and has begun to put regional directors in place, in particular in the Houston area and the DFW area, and we'll add other regional directors as the funds become available for that. Nelda Skevington is press secretary, and we have a number of other individuals that are working now in a consulting or contractual is the better word, in a contractual capacity with the campaign. So I think that I'm feeling a load off of my shoulders having people to kind of take up some of those things so that I can really get in and do the policy study work that I want to do. So
that was Republican gubernatorial candidate Debra Medina. I'm R.G. Ratcliffe reporting from the Capitol.